So picture funneling billions into OpenAI's vision of AI reshaping everything, yet the path to black ink still stays foggy. Will mounting losses bury the dream, stranding backers with empty promises? Or does this signal a shakeup where rivals surge ahead, leaving OpenAI fading? So from 25 years wrestling code challenges, these red flags echo past flops, bold bets crashing onto cold realities. So let's dive in today and dissect some of the big claims that OpenAI might never turn a profit, backed by a fresh take from Wall Street Journal and X Threads, as well as from financial and other big backers. So OpenAI just admitted they're burning $74 billion in 2028 alone. That's their projection. So how does a company lose more money than most countries' GDP while claiming to lead the AI revolution? So here's the kicker. 95% of ChatGPT users aren't paying a single penny. Meanwhile, Grok 4.1 just crushed ChatGPT 5.1 on every benchmark that matters. And Google's Gemini 3 is making both look outdated. The math doesn't lie. OpenAI needs $20 billion in revenue by 2030 just to break even. And I don't even think that's quite close enough. Today, I'm going to dive into some of the brutal truths about why OpenAI's business model is fundamentally broken and why smart money is already starting to move elsewhere. Let's dive in today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer, and here at Startup Hack, we love to build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. So the AI industry's biggest secret is finally out in the open. OpenAI's financial documents just leaked, and folks, it's worse than anyone even imagined. We're talking about those losses that make WeWork look profitable. And while they're hemorrhaging cash, their competitors are eating their lunch on actual performance. So we're going to dive into why OpenAI's promise of profitability is the biggest lie in tech. The cash burn at OpenAI has alarms ringing loud, with doubts piling up on ever-seen profits. Now, remind me, this totally reminds me of chasing elusive bugs, a thrilling chase, brutal dead ends. So now, as always, make sure you share your hot take down below, because my best thing is when you guys leave a comment. It's my favorite thing. So let's jump into some of these that we're seeing here. So OpenAI says its plans to report stunning annual losses through 2028 and then turn wildly profitable 2 years later. So there's planning a dramatic arc toward profitability through the end of the decade, but that growing won't come without some pains. The company reportedly expects to rack up massive annual losses each year, including roughly $74 billion in operating losses in 2028. See, part of this reason is because they're CapExing GPUs out for multiple years, right? And so the thing about that is because this is also where GPUs are going to need to start being repurchased. By 2028, they're going to need to start replacing some of their existing GPUs, which are new now, that are going to become old then. See, GPUs only last for about 3 years. So they think that this is going to somehow magically turn 2030. Now, I've run enough businesses to know that when you tweak some numbers, say, oh, well, we're going to have this and this and this, and suddenly the graph looks great, but the reality is something totally different. The documents which were shared with investors this summer reveal an aggressive growth strategy that hints on massive upfront investment into computing infrastructure, chips, and data center, spending that CEO Sam Altman has described as necessary to meet what he sees as insatiable demands for AI capabilities. Now, one of the interesting things about this that's just come out in the last couple of days is Gemini 3, which is kicking the trash out of all the other competitors out there, particularly ChatGPT, did it all with TPUs, not GPUs. It's a big difference here. And Google's built all of those in-house at a fraction of the cost, minus the 75% markup that NVIDIA is charging, right? So the company anticipates spending of roughly $22 billion this year against $13 billion in sale. Now, I think this is actually low, and they're actually finding that this number is low, resulting in a net $9 billion loss, meaning OpenAI spends approximately $1.69 for every dollar of revenue it generates. So that's a terrible business model, guys. It doesn't take a long time to figure that out. The number underscores the stark divergence between the two most valuable AI startups. Well, both companies currently burn cash, and they're talking about OpenAI versus Anthropic, right? While both companies currently burn cash at a similar rate relative to revenue, their paths split dramatically. Anthropic's forecast drops its cash burning to roughly 1/3 of revenue in 2026 and down to 9% in 2027. So Anthropic's saying they're going to start spending less, whereas OpenAI says we're going to keep spending, right? So OpenAI's plan relies on what amounts to bet on dominance, right? That's their thing, is they're betting on dominance. But the problem here is they're already getting their butt kicked. Now, let's take a look at some of these other ones. Now, Chris back here says, haven't stopped thinking about this since I first saw it. And he says electricity generation in China, right? And you see this, and then you see the US barely ticking up, right? We're barely coming up here. China is on track for a crazy amount. This is an existing chart, like it's on. And somebody says, well, China's 4 times bigger than the U.S., so it's simply under electrified. This guy says, okay, here's another way to look at it. This is per capita, right? So U.S. is the blue, and we're actually going down per capita, while China is scaling up quick per capita, right? Now, that's another big one. Now, this is a true banger. SoftBank is selling NVIDIA stake to fund companies whose main expense is buying from NVIDIA. Right? Like some of those things don't make sense here. And this is what, this is what is the comments are even going after too, right? In order to generate a 10% on return on AI investment, it would require $180 per month of every Netflix subscriber. So what this means is JP Morgan did a report. I'm going to tell more about this, but these are the highlights of it, right? JP Morgan did a report to say what it would take for OpenAI to become to cash flow positive. In order to generate even a 10% return on AI investment, it would require a $180 subscription from every Netflix subscriber. So basically, OpenAI would have to get as many subscribers as Netflix, and then they would have to charge them $180 per month to gain a 10% return on just the current AI investments. Guys, this math isn't mathing here. Like I know I have my computers do my math for me, but those maths aren't mathing. Next one here from the same JP Morgan report. To drive a 10% return on model AI investments through 2020 to 2030 would require $650 billion of annual revenue into perpetuity. Say that one fast. Which is astonishingly large number. For context, that equates to $180 per month from every Netflix subscriber. So this is why he's begging for a bailout, right? Sam is begging for a bailout because they spent too much. And see, they did this race for AGI thinking, oh, well, it'll all be worth it and it'll all prove once we have AGI because everyone will come running. But the reality is that reports show that OpenAI is losing, its losses will top $44 billion by 2028. So even if they were to continue to fund at the rate they are, $44 billion. Now this looks like that's like coding a monster app without checking memory leaks. Crashes are going to be inevitable. Expenses blew to $150 billion on inference through 2030. Now, in my years of steering teams, unchecked spending torpedoes even the most solid startups. Revenue always is going to lag far behind. In the first half of 2025, they were already hitting a $4.3 billion against soaring costs, and that was based off of a Microsoft report that Microsoft reported on writing down some of these expensive. Now, JP Morgan flags that they would need $650 billion yearly for 10% return. So picture charging every Netflix user $180 a month, right? That sounds crazy. It's like a car payment, right? Firms like, well, I don't know. There's not many car payments you can get for $180 anymore. One of my first car payments was like $180. So that's where my mind's stuck at, right? So firms like SoftBank cycle NVIDIA cash into AI, and Gavin Baker's calls this loop investing, right? And that's what we were just seeing here. So it's comical cash chase because reality bites without income streams, right? Developers know that optimizing early or watch efficiencies evaporate, right? Now, data centers are guzzling power rivaling nations, and over $600 billion have already been sucked into big tech in 2023 and 2025, according to Wall Street Journal, which warns of a weakening balance. So it's funny how hype has built an empire on shaky math. From advertising startups, from advising startups, overbuilds will crush a startup faster than anything else. Coders will grind with resilient stacks. So one of the things here at Startup Hack is we work to build efficient systems. You see some of these systems back here over my shoulder. Can't see which way I'm pointing. Over here, right? These are some of the AI systems that I'm building using hardware that I'm buying at a fraction of the cost. And then we take it and we scale this out. And I'm not quite ready to announce what the project's for, but I'm really excited to get to announce this one. But we are working on some crazy good AI innovation here at Startup Hack as we're building out and innovating on some hardware to do some amazing things. So it's not always about just pouring and pouring and pouring more money into this to make it work. Now, Grok 4.1 claims that it edges ahead in speed and tasks, and a lot of people are showing better results with Grok. So let's go here and look at this report here. So Grok versus ChatGPT, which AI reigns supreme? Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, Grok 4.1 is beating ChatGPT 5.0, and I'm not sure, 5.1. And as you look into these, we see that there's a lot of comparisons that they're similar, but Grok pretty handily is going to beat. This isn't against Grok 4.1. This is a bad link. Sorry. sharing wrong link here. But the Grok 4.1 is beating out 5.1. That's a bad example there. Let me see if I got another one here. So 4.1 arrives, and it's bringing the fight to GPT with these new features. So, sorry, that was showing you the 4.0 versus 5.1. Now, Grok, the XAI's chatbot, has developed a name for itself as one of the more notorious AIs on the scene, famous for pushing boundaries and at times delivering responses that raise eyebrows. But the latest release of Grok 4.1 might just challenge all that. The new launch signals a shift in attitude, aiming to turn Grok from a rebellious wildcard into a more reliable, user-friendly companion. Now, this isn't just a routine update. It's a major move that seeks to redefine how Grok interacts with people. So what's new versus previous Grok? Grok 4.1 now is available on Grok. Aren't just cosmetic, they're real-world reasoning. It's also faster with reduced hallucinations. So the thing that I'm going to point out here is, while I do think Grok 4.1 is better than 4, and I do use Grok a lot for a lot of different things, particularly for personal stuff. I have like business stuff I use mostly Gemini. Personal stuff I'm using, mostly Grok, and that's kind of what I find to be. And I find that Gemini gets into where it's a little too limiting for some of the things I want to talk about, where Grok is willing to talk about pretty much anything. And not that I'm talking about anything bad, and I'm definitely not delving deep, dark secrets. But if I want to talk religion, I want to talk some of these other things, that's when I really start diving into using Grok. So I've really found that Grok 4.1 to be really good, and it is a good upgrade. But Gemini 3 pretty much crushes all of them. And so, I think we're definitely seeing where Google is going to come out the winner here. But I like Google and I like Grok because I like a couple of different things. One, Grok can be built using a lot of the revenue that's coming from X already. So X is revenue generating, right? And Musk is backed by his own private companies as well. So the Musk backing, as well as the revenue from X, means that, yeah, he's brought on investment, but nowhere near the level of crazy investments that OpenAI's had to bring on for ChatGPT. Then we have Gemini 3. Gemini 3 is backed by Google. Google can easily, comfortably spend $100 billion a year of CapEx and not even break a sweat. Meta's been doing it for years, right? On the silly metaverse. But Google is Google. There's nobody who's had more data over the last 2 decades than Google. There's no one who knows how to build out servers faster than Google. That's why from the beginning, Google's like, we're not going to buy NVIDIA chips. Let's go build our own TPUs. And they did. So we can see that this is why I think you're going to see Gemini 3 win. Now, let's talk a little bit about here. Market shares are definitely slipping away. Enterprise AI shares dropped from 50 to 34% this year for OpenAI. And rivals like Anthropic and Google are absolutely eating their lunch. Wall Street Journal charts hype reality gap, saying that the capex versus the spend is nowhere close to what they can sustain. And thanks to Wall Street Journal for their paywall. I can't show you. But like over-engineering basics that shine brief but cost internally, what OpenAI is doing is spending with complete and utter disregard for reasoning. Now, Chinese hacks are also targeting Anthropic and trying to scale AI cyber attacks, and that's one of the other things that we're going to see come here. Who's better protected against a cyber attack than Google? They've been fighting cyber attacks from foreign enemies for years, so they're going to not do this stuff, and you're going to see this take this in stride. OpenAI and Anthropic, they're wide open to this kind of stuff. X has been, Twitter to X has been around for decades, right? They're protected more against this kind of thing than you're going to see somebody like OpenAI or Anthropic. So you're going to see a lot of different things come and go over the time. But I think what we are looking at here is that the ROI reckoning is hitting hard. These massive investments have to have a return at some point. Now, there's always Gary Marcus, right? And Gary Marcus is my buddy. I like this guy because he's a little more negative about it than I probably am, but at the end of the day, he's got some pretty good points here, right? DevOps code tools are definitely, starting to drop off. And I think as we continue to see more from SimilarWeb, we're going to see more and more of these drop off. He also says that they've been tracking AI in the work since December. They find that generative AI use has fallen 36% from September up to September 2025 from June, okay? So I wonder if OpenAI, Google, or Anthropic are seeing similar declines. So what's happening is OpenAI is seeing this and Anthropic is seeing this. Google is on the opposite, is seeing a rise. Because as you can even see up in here in my browser, we got a little Gemini here, right? And Google's starting to put this into everything. Now, they're starting to see a lot of different adoptions, start to drop or fade. So there's a lot of things that are showing that we're starting to hit a fatigue with AI, and this is definitely what starts to happen. But that's when the real innovation happens. So like this thing that you see up here, over here behind me, I keep pointing in the wrong direction. Back here. That one back here, those are some of the AI servers. I've got 4 more running under the desk here, right? These are servers that we're building out using some pretty incredible hardware here and building out in a way that we can build out some pretty neat stuff that we're building into a lot of our different projects here. So as always, if we can help your company to build some AI solutions that aren't going to break the bank, reach out to us here at starterpack.com. We specialize in helping companies build custom software. Now, with declining traction, competitors offering free trials, and people like Google eating OpenAI's lunch, GPU demands are going to persist, whereas people like Google are going to start using TPUs. You're going to see their costs going down, and they'll be able to start outspending OpenAI 10 to 1 by the end of the year. Now, I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I love to have a great discussion. So as always, make sure you leave your comments down below and tell me your thoughts, and make sure you like and subscribe. Here at Starter Pack, we love to build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out if we can help, and here's some great information about our services.
Hi, I'm Spencer, a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and 25 years in software development, I've transformed technology teams and products for businesses just like yours. As your fractional CTO, you get the strategic guidance of a seasoned technology executive without the full-time commitment. Perfect for companies ready to leverage cutting-edge technology without expanding headcount. My team at Startup Hack has already built advanced AI agents for small and medium businesses, automating complex workflows and delivering advanced ROI to human workflows. We specialize in creating custom software that connects your systems into a single coherent technology ecosystem. Our development approach focuses on tangible business outcomes. For one client, we developed AI-powered workflows that cut days off of human processes. For another company, by connecting multiple systems, we reduced processing time to increase their ROI by over 75%. We don't just write code, we architect solutions that scale. Whether you need cloud system architecture, data integration between legacy systems, or custom AI agents that automate your unique business processes, my team delivers results that exceed your expectations. Having led technology for a lot of companies and launched 7 successful brands of my own, I bring battle-tested expertise to your business challenges. Our specialty is turning technological complexity into business advantage. So if you're ready to harness the power of AI and custom software to drive your business forward, let's connect. Together, we'll build technology that doesn't just solve today's problems, it positions you for tomorrow's opportunities. Technology leadership, decades of experience, AI powered. Reach out today and we can help you. Check out starterpack.com/Spencer.